So these video notes are going to be kind of introing our 3.3 notes. We're going to get into conversions. The sheet that you see here, you should hopefully get a paper copy from the sub, and you can see that we kind of have it in 3 different sections. So US customary system is like what we're used to: feet, inches, acres, cups, gallons. The metric system is more going with kilograms, milligrams, liters, and so forth. And then this bottom one is going to help us try to get from one to the other. And so what our goal is to be converting whatever measurement we're given to the other units. And so we'll get really familiar with this worksheet and being able to identify. So if we look at the first one here, we want to know how many pounds is 435 ounces. So the first thing I would set up is I would have 435 ounces on top over 1. And so since I'm trying to get rid of ounces and go to pounds, when I set up my next one, ounces will go on the bottom. And again, I'm going to look at my resource page to see, can I go directly from ounces to pounds? So if I look up here, I can see here ounces to pounds is a direct conversion, right? So I know 1 pound equals 16 ounces. So that means I'm going to have pounds on top. 1 pound is 16 ounces. So all I would have to do now is when we have a unit in the numerator and denominator, that cancels. That's why our answers is going to be in terms of pounds. So I would get 435 over 16. So I should get 27.1875 pounds. Again, you may have done this in some of your science classes, but now we're going to be looking at like every type of conversion you can think of. This next one, how many gallons are in 1,000 cups of water? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up 1,000 over 1 cups. And so now I have to think about how can I work from cups to gallons. So if I look at my problem here, I'm going to go ahead and highlight some things here. So I'm currently in cups. So if I'm looking at this section here, I can go from cups to quarts. So I can do that. And then I can go from quarts to gallons. So I'm going to need those 2 conversions in order to get it into gallons. Could there be more than one way? Absolutely, we can do. But this would probably be the straightforward way of converting cups to gallons. So I know that there is 4 cups in 1 quart. So I'm going to have 4 cups on the bottom since I want whatever unit I'm getting rid of in opposite denominator. So cups and cups over 1 quart times. Now at this point, if I multiply across, cups cancel. And our last conversion is going from quarts to gallons. Just be careful just putting G there. G means grams. So gallons, I would just write out the gallon word. And we know that 1 gallon is 4 quarts, right? If we go back up here, that's what it said. So at this point, right, quarts cancels and I'm left with gallons. That's our final answer. So we need to multiply all the way across. So 1,000 times 1 times 1 will get us 1,000. Over 1 times 4 times 4, we get a 16. So if I divide that, I get 62.5, and our new units is gallons. So hopefully that's making sense so far. And again, both of these we're kind of going from US customary to also US customary. Now this next one, we're going from metric to our US metric system. So we may have to use that bottom part of our resource page conversion sheet to help us out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write down 190,080 inches over 1. So again, right off the bat, I need to have inches in the denominator, and I'm working towards getting it in kilometers. So we may have to use a few conversions here to get us to kilometers, because kilometers is like their miles in like Europe or in other countries. So if we look here, I can see down here, right? If we look down at the bottom here, I can get miles to kilometers, right? So then I want to think about how can I get my inches in terms of miles? Well, if I look on top here, I can go from inches to feet, then feet to miles, and then down here go to miles to kilometers. So these would be the 3 that I would use in order to convert it to kilometers. So The first part is our inches to feet. So I know that there's 12 inches in 1 foot. So at this point, right, our inches would cancel. I'm left with feet times. Our next conversion is going from getting rid of feet. So feet's going to go in the denominator, and I want to convert it to miles. So I know that in 1 mile, there's 5,280 miles. Excuse me, 5,280 feet. Again, here we can see that feet cancel. I'm left with miles. Now our last conversion is going from miles to kilometers. So miles would go on the denominator, which I'm trying to cancel out, and kilometers would go on top. So that means there's 1.609 kilometers in 1 mile. And again, I'm just using that conversion sheet on the slide before, and you should hopefully have it printed out in front of you. Also, what we're going to do is we're going to cancel out our miles here, so that's why our final answer will be terms of kilometers. So again, in my calculator, I would just do all this work. I would do this times 1 times 1 times 1.609, and then divided by, then I would have to multiply 5,280 times 1 times 1. So if we do plug that in, we should get 4.827 kilometers. And that would be our final answer. The last one that we're going to do is now we're going to be kind of talking about 2 separate units, because when we read here, I want to go from 45 miles per hour to inches per second. So when we set up our problem here, it's going to be a little bit different, because I'm going to have 45 miles on top, and then per means division. So that means over 1 hour. So if again, 45 miles per hour represents, I'm going to go 45 miles in 1 hour if I'm going 45 miles per hour. And so what we need to do here is we need to convert our miles into inches and our hours into seconds. So let's first worry about miles, right? So going from miles to inches, if I look back up at my miles to inches, the 1 miles when I have is to feet, and then I can go from feet to inches. So these would be the 2 that I'm going to use in order to get them into inches. So let's do that first. So I have it set up here. Since I'm trying to get rid of miles here, miles is going to go on the bottom, and I'm going to go to feet. I know in 1 mile there's 5,280 feet. And then since I'm trying to get rid of feet again, feet would go in the denominator, inches would go on top, and I know that in 1 foot there's 12 inches. So now when I start canceling these things off, right, miles and miles would cancel, and feet cancel. That's why I end up with inches on top, right? That's what I want in my final answer. Okay, now we're going to continue to convert, because I want to go from hours to seconds. Again, there's no conversion sheet on here. We should hopefully know how many minutes are in an hour, how many seconds are in an hour, and so forth. But I want to get rid of hours. So that means I'm going to do this in green, just so we can color code it. That means hours will go on top. And I first need to convert to minutes. If you know the conversion from minutes to seconds, you could do that. But I'm going to go from hours to minutes first. So I know that there is, in 1 hour, 60 minutes. And again, you can see here, hours and hours cancel. I'm left with minutes. But now I need to go from minutes to seconds. So since I'm trying to get rid of minutes, and I already have minutes in the denominator, I'm going to put minutes on top over seconds. And I know that there's 60 seconds in 1 minute. Now I can cancel out our minutes here, and we are left with seconds in the denominator. So again, my final answer is going to be inches per second. And again, on top, I would have to multiply 45 times 5,280 times 12 times 1, get a number. And then in the denominator, I need to multiply 1 times 1 times 1 times 60 times 60, and then divide those 2 values. So I think we should get 2,851,200 on top over 3,600. So then our final answer is 792 inches per second. You could write inches per second if you want, or you can kind of use that fraction. So sorry I'm not there today, But again, you're going to go ahead and do a few problems. I think there's 4 on your own. Feel free to work together, get this done, and we'll go over it tomorrow before we start on 3.2 notes. Sorry, 3.3 notes.